This case of Lindsay Clancy might as well be solved by the TikTok detectives. And you know what's crazy? Everyone is coming up with their own speculation, or rather, majority of the people are coming up with their own speculation, having watched the trial, which is, as I said, being televised for the entire world to see. And I want you, it's very possible that the court or the jury wants the entire world to, maybe probably was planning on creating awareness on mental health, especially postpartum, but holes are popping left, right, and center, and the TikTok detectives are actually poking them. Now, one of the things I noticed is, no, let's go back to this man called Reddington, allegedly, because I've seen a video and I'm like, okay, this is going somewhere. And the people who are coming on TikTok to speak are actually medical specialists and lawyers. So this is not just someone seated and talking about body language and stuff like that. No, saying that Patrick is itching his nape or his ear, and that means this and this. Although we've seen that several times, but the thing is, people are coming out and sharing what they think is happening after watching the trial. Not just guessing, but examining, hearing, and coming out with their own speculation. Now, it is alleged because that video, I'm not sure if it's going to stay for long on the TikTok app. I might as well not find it on my FYP because these things happen all the time. Many people have come forward expressing what they're seeing in the case. Some have actually been sued by Patrick's side. And so I'm here thinking, okay, why is this happening? So Reddington actually, through some other people, managed to reach out to one of the people that had come forward and done a video talking about Patrick's behavior, or not even the behavior mainly, rather the inconsistency of the timelines, his alibi, and the loopholes that she had spotted in this case. And one of the things that people keep pointing out is the fact that, so first of all, he runs, right? If you're a professional athlete, well, besides the point. So one of the inconsistencies is when he left first of all, he was the last person to leave the house. And so we do not know what transpired beyond that, because there are people who are saying that there's a very high possibility that the woman, Lindsay Clancy, in all that she was doing, maybe she just wanted him, especially with the story of, go and get this food and this for me. There's a possibility that maybe she wanted him to leave the house so she can commit the acts of strangulation on these 3 kids. But on this other hand, I find it so, first of all, forgive me for this, but if you wanted to ask your partner to go and get some food for you, and you are in the same house, would you text your partner, or would you just walk up straight to your partner and tell them, yo, how about you go and get some food? Anyway, it could be one of those things like people brush off, but for me, it doesn't sit well with me. Anyway, let's go back to, so he is the last person to leave the house, and inconsistently also, when the body of Lindsay is found, she wasn't oozing of blood from the wrists and also from the neck. Her thyroid had been tampered with. So she wasn't oozing of any blood. Her body temperature was as cold and freezing to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And according to medical specialists, practitioners and specialists, they're saying that they have never in their entire lives seen a body so cold in such a short duration of time. They have never. Meaning that there's a possibility that she had been in that state way before Patrick left the house. And the speculation of Lindsay attempting suicide by jumping from a 2-story house to the ground may as well have been someone pushing her or literally someone throwing her out. And the wrists bleeding and the neck, people are speculating that there's absolutely no way the angle in which her neck was slashed, she did it on her own. Someone had to have done it. That is what the speculations are. Now, what else is missing? So when Patrick leaves the house and when he goes to CVS, there's also like an inconsistency, because from the house to CVS and also from the house to CVS, the timeline is not adding up. I believe it takes from the maps that people have searched and probably also like driven that distance from the house to CVS, where he was allegedly supposed to get some medication for the children. It's a 3 to 5 minutes drive maximum, but it took more than 15 minutes, roughly 17 minutes. While at CVS, Patrick calls Lindsay, claiming that, first of all, I just remembered something, okay? There was a claim that when he went to CVS and the pediatric shelf that he went into, he claimed that they looked kind of empty. But you can clearly see they aren't empty. They aren't as empty, or rather, maybe there may have been like a miscommunication there. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the shelves did not seem that empty. Anyway, or maybe there wasn't what he was looking for. Initially it was said that he was looking for like a specific brand, but the specific brand wasn't available, and so there was the option of the generic type. But this is all alleged. Later, the original brand had been spotted. Anyway, besides the point. But anyway, basically the timeline there wasn't adding up. And so when he left CVS and went to, is it 3V, to get the order that they had made while in the house, so first of all, while at CVS, he made a call to Lindsay. At first, Lindsay did not respond. And then a minute later, Lindsay called him, and the call was 14 seconds long. I wish there was... let me not even say what some TikTok detectives are saying is that it's very possible that call was not received by Lindsay. Or rather, and there's a speculation that someone else was probably in on this whole thing. So anyway, he leaves CVS and he can be seen on his phone, probably texting or still on a call. And then he goes to 3V's. When he goes to 3V's, it doesn't take long because the order was already ready. And then he comes back. And then he comes back home. And when you look at the house of this couple, the basement window, it is said, and it was just someone that pointed out the light was on. So picture this. Patrick comes back home, and also this is the part that really gets me, right? So Patrick comes back home. He calls out, obviously, his family, like, hey guys, like basically letting them know that he's around, right? That he's come back. And since no one answers, his first instinct is to take the phone and call the wife. I mean, like, okay, to me that's odd behavior. Or do you guys do that at home? When you get home and there's no one to answer the phone, do you, when you get home and there's silence, do you suddenly start making calls? Or he was carrying food and he was also carrying medication, right? If you get home and there's no one, like, what's the first thing you do? Anyway, I'm not in his mind. I don't think like him. I'm just trying to project probably what I do and comparing it to other people's lives, and it's not okay. But you tell me. Well, anyway, he gets home. No one seems to be moving around. He doesn't hear anything. So what does he do? He calls the phone, and unfortunately, obviously no one answers. And so he goes upstairs. He climbs the stairs and finds the door is locked. And he opens it from outside. And on opening the door from outside, he notices blood. And also the window is open. So he looks down and he sees Lindsay. So he comes down and rushes to go and see Lindsay. So keep in mind that at this time he's on a 911 call. So he goes outside and he checks on Lindsay, and while on the 911 call, he asks Lindsay, and he like, what did you do? While on the 911 call, like, what did you do, right? And she answers that she tried to, is it that she tried to kill herself and then jumped out of the window? And then I do not, this is now the complicated bit. I do not know if this is on record, but later the police asks him that when you asked her where the kids were, what did she say? He answers and he says that Lindsay said the kids were in the basement. Now, do you remember the basement window, the lights were on, right? And this is all alleged. This is just someone that pointed this out. So Lindsay tells him the kids are in the basement, right? And the first thing that he does is rush inside the house and go to the basement. Now, again, not projecting. Okay, probably projecting, but if the basement window lights were open and someone has told me that the kids are in the basement, my first instinct would be to peep through the windows, just to check through the windows, how are the kids? And then I rush now to go to the basement. Also, the basement is where Patrick's office was at. Now, there are some very, like, TikTok detectives are saying that all this is very suspicious. And so Patrick is still on the 911 call, and the people arrive. I'm assuming the police arrive. The help arrives finally, and when he gets to the basement, sadly, he screams obviously, and when the help arrives, he says that she killed the kids. And I'm assuming at this point he's disoriented, he's not in a good space, he doesn't know what to do. Can you imagine such a horrific ordeal? Like, you just left the house and you're coming back to your wife allegedly attempting suicide and your kids dead, and this is your entire world shattered. So what happens is, I believe, and also I need you to note that when Lindsay allegedly attempted suicide, or allegedly was pushed through the window, when she landed, she broke, like she became paralyzed. So not all the way, but she's paralyzed to some extent. So I believe she's on a wheelchair as we speak. That's why you see her on that kind of position in the quotes. So one other thing that's quite suspicious is the way in which now this is at this point the TikTok detectives are trying to make Patrick look guilty. And at this point, people are trying to speculate the fact that, and to some extent, I could understand this. People are pointing out the fact that he's now married, and it's like he had been trying to move on with his life. Keep in mind the timeline that by the time the strangulation was happening, allegedly, the last child, Callan, was 8 months old, and it turns out Patrick had, like, sort of, well, at this as we speak right now, he's in a full marriage, and the wife is a medical practitioner as well. Lindsay was a nurse, and let's just go back a little. So people are trying to point out some inconsistencies as well in his story, and there's something that majority of people are not understanding. For example, the fact that Lindsay was on mental health or postpartum depression prescription. It's at one point having that in prescriptions, and it's quite suspicious. People say that he left Lindsay with the kids, knowing the state at which she was at. And also, later on in court, he claimed that he had forgiven her for all that, he had forgiven her for, I believe, the murders. Now, I want you to be the judge. There's a lot to this story.